Hey, welcome in. Well, here's at least a crumb of good news for the Western world. Here's the headline. Forced out by parent power. Woke head teacher accused of indoctrinating pupils over critical race theory quits London's super expensive American school. And it shows you that the modern left's poisonous race Marxism has spread everywhere. It's everywhere now. The left in the Western world is in total solidarity in terms of their crazy, bigoted ideas. So let's see. The head teacher of Britain's most expensive day school has resigned following a row over a new woke agenda. Robin Appleby last week told trustees at the American school in London that she will be quitting as head of the school from January, less than 5 years after she was appointed. So she's been there 5 years. The problem here is that these people always bring their friends with them, their fellow cult members. And just because she's gone, they're not going to change their minds on anything because they're in a cult. And that's what cult members are like. They have absolute certainty. Logic, reason, nothing will get through to them. For them, it's a holy war. So, I mean, the story at this school is not over yet. I can guarantee you that. Her resignation came after a group of parents wrote a 12-page letter complaining that their children were being indoctrinated in the controversial and divisive ideology of critical race theory. They said every subject from art to literature to history is now being taught through a prism of race or gender, one revolving around the ideas of white and male privilege. Yes, and this is how it's done. I'm sure they don't have a class called critical race theory. They don't need to. If everything is seen through that lens, the kids are going to get the message. Let's see. The letter also alleged that a recent decision to create racially segregated after-school clubs. Here we are with the segregation again. They just love segregation. It's the weirdest thing. But if you consider how they view people as just faceless parts of a identity machine, just faceless parts of some group, then it makes sense. They don't see people as individuals. Individual doesn't matter. Again, these are race Marxists. Don't forget that. I just can't believe that I've lived to see the day when anybody is gleefully promoting racial segregation. That's not what Star Trek The Next Generation told us was supposed to happen. Anyway, in which pupils mix solely with peers of the same ethnicity. Well, that's not divisive at all. But that is illegal as it breaches the Equality Act. Let's see. Founded in 1951, it is seen as a ticket to top grades and the best U.S. universities. So it's making more sense that it would be woke at this point, isn't it? Because it's all the same stuff they're going to see when they go to a top U.S. university. Let's see. Although presented as a resignation, sources last night said the head's departure was forced by the board of trustees after a furious revolt by parents. Yeah, and that's what it requires. If parents don't say anything, these people are going to completely poison their children. And they're going to do it with a big smile on their face. Let's see. One parent celebrated her departure, but claimed that several teachers remain who appear resolute in their determination to continue to indoctrinate our children into this racist and toxic ideology. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They bring their friends with them, and they're all part of the same cult. You're very, very unlikely to change their mind. They feel that they have the right to do this. They feel that it's a moral obligation to try and convert children into their cult, and for them to grow up seeing themselves as distinct from other kids based on race or gender. So, the segregation thing makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it? When you look at it through the eyes of a demented lunatic leftist. Let's see. It says they started teaching CRT after George Floyd, but they were teaching all this stuff before then. This stuff has been around a while now, and they've been secretly trying to indoctrinate kids while the parents weren't aware of it. This definitely didn't just start overnight. I'm sure they just started accelerating it then because they felt they had a justification. Let's see. During the holidays, and this is after George Floyd, and keep in mind this also in a country that had absolutely nothing to do with that, parents were sent an email declaring that in the wake of that unrest, ASL had decided to implement a detailed action plan to improve its policies on diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as social justice. Again, this is the solidarity of the modern left across the Western world. leftists in that country see it as an opportunity. Now let's see. Parents were instructed in how to raise anti-racist children and recognize their own implicit biases. Well, that must have gone over great. So you have to remember, everything they say is the opposite of reality, right? So raising anti-racist children means raising children obsessed with race. And recognizing their own implicit biases, that just means sit down and shut up. That means you're not allowed to argue with us. You're not allowed to speak your mind. You're not allowed to say, that doesn't make any sense. You're stupid. Or you're a bigot. But I think we all know that by now. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see. The parents also said Appleby led the school's recent adoption of its highly controversial and divisive critical race theory agenda. Now, keep in mind, she's been there for 5 years. And she hasn't been idle that time. You know, she started planting the seeds for this a long time ago. Quote, unfortunately, she leaves behind many influential and senior members of the school's administration and faculty who appear resolute in their determination to continue to indoctrinate our children into this racist and toxic ideology. So it appears that the parents are going to have to remain vigilant. I hope that they do. Because, I'm just from the old school that says, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't racially segregate children and tell them to hate each other or themselves. Maybe you shouldn't encourage confusion amongst impressionable children about gender. Because, it's not that long ago, all of these things would have been seen as absolutely despicable and reckless. And, what's the other word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, deranged. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you just like to listen, there's the podcast Radio Baloney. It's on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.